Hello! Today we're going to be talking about Palantir and why I see it going nuclear. I got in at $10.80, but I am going to load up big right now and upgrade my position because I'm feeling so good about its future potential upside. In this video I'm going to try to break it down very simply for you and give 10 huge reasons why I'm certain this stock will be hitting 500, yes, 500 within 5 years. Stick around, you do not want to be sitting on the fence on this stock. Make it simple. Those of you who are new to the channel, I am the Simple Trader. I am not a financial advisor, but guess what? In April this year, I started my Freedom portfolio and it's going through the roof. We're talking upwards of 200% on paper. I created this channel to document my investing journey in mega growth stocks, but more importantly, I wanted to use this platform to get my stock picks, research and information to you in the hope that I can help everyday investors like you make more informed winning investments moving forward. We don't all have time to be traders, and that's why I am a simple investor in long-term growth stocks. Just like them, this channel is growing, and that's thanks to all you subscribers out there. I really appreciate it. If you haven't already though, please consider to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up as it helps out the channel big time. Let's jump straight into Palantir. On the surface, everyone who's heard of Palantir probably just thinks 1. It's a secretive big data company that's somehow intertwined and synonymous with secret government work. 2. Hasn't turned a profit. And 3. Only recently went public. Since going public around 2 months ago via a direct offering and not an IPO, we see that the price has almost doubled up. People now seem to be fully jumping on the bandwagon. This may well be due to FOMO, the fear of missing out, and not really understanding what the hype or the company is all about. Well, let me try to change that thinking by presenting to you the simple 10 reasons why I believe Palantir will hit $500, yes, $500 within 5 years, and why it is a must buy right now for any serious growth portfolio moving forward. Origins and founder-led leadership. Palantir was formed in 2003, 17 years ago, by Alex Karp, Peter Thiel, and a few other guys that we don't need to go into right now. Peter Thiel is the man who co-founded PayPal. Let that sink in. He is also one of the first investors in Facebook. Let that sink in too. What does that say? Simply put, Peter Thiel is a proven winner, and I love to invest in winners. The CEO of Palantir is Alex Karp. Remember that name. He studied at Stanford and was a classmate of fellow founder and winner Peter Thiel. He has become quite a controversial figure, but in all honesty, I've seen many of his interviews, and to me, I put him in the same category of company founders such as Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, and Elon Musk.
Welcome to Palantir's Investor Day. We're very happy and proud to have you here. Many of you know us for our work in the intel and defense space. Some of you know us for powering some of the largest institutions in the world in the commercial sector. And what's interesting about what we're showing you today is that you're going to get to take a look at our financial history. And one of the things that I think people have already noticed is that the revenue has grown dramatically, that the quality of the revenue is, in my view, astonishing. And then in the combination of quality of revenue and growth, it's a very unique company. Then the question is, well, how did you get this revenue growth off of a large scale late into the history of a tech company? And how did this happen? Well, this happens because our business is just different than what you'll find in most software businesses. Most software companies build software based on what were the past needs of a client and reduce those needs to a tiny, understandable wrench that you can buy and put into your Frankenstein monster of an enterprise. Palantir discovered in the intel and defense space that the single most efficient way to supply software would be to supply the whole stack. That the end user, to get the true alpha of the enterprise, needs a stack that works on day one, or in our case, in hour 2. Palantir, Foundry, PG, and the other products we supply to the classified space work on day one and give you the power of a complete stack that otherwise you would have to build over many months, if not years, and quite frankly, mostly doesn't work. But what's interesting about Palantir, and particularly unique, what I would say is an N of one, is that Palantir builds stacks 5 to 10 years before the general public realizes that this way of looking at the world will literally save your institution, and in many cases save your life. And the magic of Palantir was building PG and Foundry 5 years before anyone believed that they were things that were necessary for our survival, either commercially or in the context of data protection, our way of life, or on the anti-terror battlefield. And what makes this magic special is that we've done it not just once, but many times, and that we will do it again in the future. So on this day, I'd like to welcome new Palantirians in the form of new investors, ask you to look at what we're saying, be aware of the fact that we're going to keep our culture and we've not wavered for that, and thank the Palantirians who, in my view, are the most important investors we have. And thank you very much.
I touched on this in one of my previous videos, but to be a truly world-class game-changing company, you need that one-of-a-kind leadership that can bring the passion, vision and disruption needed to succeed. And through Alex Karp, I believe Palantir will be a slam dunk company in the next 5 years. The data problem. The number one digital problem since the beginning of the technology age is data, filing and interpretation. This has been a decades-long issue, with companies filing millions of data points and logs but not being able to accurately use, file or interpret it. This was huge in the intelligence field that were at least 10 years ahead of the game, and that is where Palantir first achieved significant success. After 9/11, Palantir was set up and running and began to change the way government departments collected, filed and mined their data. Using Palantir, you can only imagine how much more productivity was created, and the hours sifting through data points were a thing of the past. This just doesn't simply apply to government intelligence agencies anymore. Commercial companies are now starting to see the big picture, and Palantir is now actively expanding into the private market. Business model. So let's debunk the first myth. Palantir is not a big data company per se. If we did need to classify them, then the closest thing would be a software enterprise where their platforms are acting as the data processor, not the controller. Palantir builds digital infrastructure for data-driven operations and decision-making. Their products serve as the connective veins between an organization's data, its analytics, capabilities, and operational execution. Their two primary customizable software platforms enable the user to sort big data into understandable and usable formats. The practical usage and vertical integration is unlimited and far-reaching. Palantir Gotham is a platform designed for government, defense and intelligence agencies that allows a user to instantaneously make sense of patterns hidden within huge data sets.
Well, this is the thing. If America brings its A game in software, what is America the world's best at? What are we so good at that it scares everybody? What is the community that there's second to none in the world? Software. So if we bring our A game, we will win.
Foundry is the platform designed for companies who struggle to make sense of datasets within their projects. The products are custom designed for each consumer and are extremely user intuitive. The customers enter into service contracts for the software, and thus we have the subscription, maintenance and upgradable business model where income streams are automated and guaranteed. Government foothold. For years in its inception, Palantir only had one customer, and that was the CIA. With the success the CIA had with the adoption of Palantir platforms, it was no surprise that many other governmental departments followed, which includes the likes of the Department of Defense, the CDC and ICE, who have 2 contracts with Palantir for a reported $92 million. In this quarter alone, Palantir signed a 2-year $91 million contract with the US Army Research Laboratory for Artificial Intelligence and Machine Learning Development. This is some next level stuff. The LA Police Force, for example, have integrated Palantir platforms to help solve crime and mine valuable data points into usable information. The Palantir platforms are becoming the infrastructure and the backbone for the US healthcare system. From research and development to distribution, from public to private, they signed a $36 million contract to support NCAT's effort, including cancer research and COVID-19 research. Palantir have recently won contracts outside of the US and have expanded to overseas governments like the UK and the National Health Service. Palantir are supporting the President of Colombia through the nation's pandemic response. The true scale of governmental integration is not fully disclosed, as a majority of it is probably classified or confidential information, but we can only imagine that, like a weed, Palantir has grown into the furthest depths of the US government alone.
Well, we built Palantir starting in 2004 to supply the US intelligence community with world-class software platforms. And we built one called PG, which now powers a lot of the Western world, both inside the US and outside of the US, most notably in Europe. And that allows intelligence, defense, and police officials to more accurately track data, the provenance of data, and the people they're interested in tracking in accordance with the law. And subsequently, we built platforms for special operators and in the more kind of data aggregation space. And so Palantir went from being what you could see as a niche player for the intelligence community, highly classified intelligence community, to what you could call the platform upon which data analytics are done inside and outside the US in the course of 10 years.
And now it seemed to be expanding worldwide and into the public realm. Stay tuned for my part 2 video on Palantir, where we will discuss 6 more reasons why Palantir is going to $500 to be continued.